Welcome to Promo Insiders, the ASI Media podcast that covers the issues that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm Theresa Hegel, Executive Editor of Special Projects and Sustainability at ASI, and I'm joined by my colleague Brendan Menapace, Content Director of Print and Promo Marketing. We both just kind of got back from the Printing United Expo last week. Still kind of recovering, but I think we're back on it.
We're getting there.
Yeah. But we wanted to just have a nice promo insiders talking about some of the trends we saw, some of the biggest kind of takeaways from the events. Now, Brendan, you've been to the show in the past many times, I'm sure, right?
Yep.
So compared to previous years, what was kind of the general vibe, the size of the show? Like, what was the kind of biggest thing that stood out as far as like the size of it? Yeah.
The size of it is definitely a huge show, and I always kind of think that it's appropriate that there's so much like automation there because it kind of feels a bit like you're on a conveyor belt as you're walking it. It really moves
It's overwhelming, I
it is
think.
overwhelming. It is a massive show and it just keeps getting bigger. And in terms of what, the general vibe, it definitely seemed like this year education was really a big part of it. I'm sure you had the same experience of like topics like AI was everywhere. And rather than just, here are the like equipment's obviously a big part of it,
Mhm.
but it really seemed like the education aspect of it this year was kind of the focal point from my perspective. Would you agree with that at all, or did you notice anything different?
Yeah, I mean, I've not been to the show before, but it seemed like there was a ton of education,
Hmm.
in separate sessions, but also on the show floor. There was like the
Exactly.
apparel zone, there was the AI, I think,
Hmm.
pavilion. There was some print on demand activations and classes. So really, like, you could see the equipment, but you can also get like that education on how to use it and how to build your business. It wasn't
Hmm.
just like, here, buy this stuff and figure it out. Like the Alliance
Absolutely.
was trying to show you, how you can thrive in print and promo.
Yeah, for sure. And I think print as an industry for a long time might have been more stuck in its ways, not stubborn, but more of just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is
Yeah.
how we've always done it. But I think in recent years with development with things like AI and direct to film, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute, it really seems like a lot of people weren't going in thinking like I already know what's going on. They were coming in thinking like, okay, how can I learn? How can I expand my business?
Yeah. And it was about like 30,000 registered attendees, over 800 um like suppliers and vendors on
Mhm.
just exhibiting, and
Yeah.
then what, like 1 million square feet of
Yep.
show
I,
floor.
I was talking to Dave Laskowski, who's obviously over there on the Printing United side, and he said it was about 1 million,
A
which
lot. I know
it's
I got my
it
steps
is
in every
huge.
day and then
And
some.
even when we were there every day, I think I told you on the show floor, I could not get my bearings. I got lost every single day.
Well, I always get lost at trade shows because there's people have their booths that are like double or triple size, and then you
Hmm.
kind of are going around. I'm like, wait, I thought I was in the 3,000s, and now I'm in the
Yep.
5,000s. Like, what's
It's like
going
when you
on?
accidentally merge onto a highway or something.
Yeah,
Like, wait a
yeah.
second.
Um, so I mean, obviously, I think we probably did not see every single thing on the show floor. There's
Mhm.
no way you can, but of all the stuff that you covered and people you talked to, what you saw, like, what were you most impressed by?
I think what I was most impressed by was the kind of the evolution of direct to object printing,
Mhm.
which obviously is going to have huge promo implications because this is going to be things where like drinkware, and I watched a basketball get the same Chicago Bulls logo printed on it over and over, and it
Oh,
was
cool.
kind of hypnotizing. And I was talking to a few printers that basically saying that these were, conversations they were having with promo people because obviously that has to do with that. And I think it was the Mamaki booth. They had a bunch of direct to objects, especially for drinkware that was curved, like wine glasses and beer glasses that weren't perfectly cylindrical and therefore not perfectly like, symmetrical on the printing. So that was really something that was interesting to me for me to see just how far that has come. And then, you know, the advancements in print on demand and the ways that it has really been adopted has really
Mhm.
was really impressive. I'm curious to hear what your perspective was, what impressed you coming
Yeah.
from this, everything that you've covered in this industry for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the print on demand I thought was really well done. I love that they had the activation. I think it was Stalls had that passport where people
Hmm.
could go to the one booth and get their little passport, that they could go to lane 7 and get, a sweatshirt, and then they can go to like I think Melco and get it
Hmm.
embroidered. They had the little QR codes on it. So it was supposed to mimic like the process of going through like the Fulfill Engine platform. I thought that was
Yep.
a clever way, because of course everybody wants to get free stuff, even though you think in this industry it's like, don't you guys get enough free stuff? No, you can never get enough
It's
free
never
stuff.
enough.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you tie it with like getting a cool custom thing, but it was like the like educational to see the process
Hmm.
of print on demand. So I thought that was really cool. I love the Women in Print Alliance. I loved they had like a networking event after the
Hmm.
show, which I thought was really great. And I'm not a big I don't like networking that much. It's very hard for me, but they made it pretty easy. So I liked that a lot. But yeah, I mean, I just think it was really cool just to see all the different things that print is, and whether it's on apparel, whether it's on these giant signs, whether it's 3D printing like supersized kind of objects.
Hmm.
There's like it really touches everything, and you don't really think about it until you're walking that show floor and see every single thing that could have print on it that's out
Yeah.
there. So I
I
think that
think,
that really impressed me.
yeah, I think it coming from a promo background, especially, like you kind of see like print and promo, the lines are kind of arbitrary.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of brings us to the next point I wanted
Hmm.
to talk about, was that convergence of print promo and all the different aspects. How did you actually see that being addressed at the show? Was that very apparent?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people on the promo side would say apparel is a promo product, so that wouldn't be a stretch for anyone. But, let's say you're coming from just an ASI show audience, there are definitely familiar faces. I was having conversations with PCNA, with Snugs, and, I was kind of asking them what they were talking to people about, because there are so many people at the show who might not be aware of the full scope of the promo industry.
Hmm.
And I think it was someone at Snugs saying that a lot of the conversations were about, like, they couldn't kind of believe that they don't have to do the printing themselves, that they're not just buying
Yeah.
blanks and they're putting a logo on. It's like, no, no, we're gonna do all of this for you. You don't have to, like, store all this in a warehouse. You don't have to get all these blanks and print them. And it can be this natural complement. And a lot of things that made sense, writing instruments and bags and lanyards, things that print sellers, it kind of comes naturally with their products. Things like trade show audiences or financial institutions or education, those all made sense. Some of the things that surprised me, it was actually at Snugs, they were saying that their Bluetooth speakers were, really popular with
Hmm.
with printers who were saying they were just getting into promo, were
Yeah.
very interested in the Bluetooth speakers. So that kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that right off. I think the things you mentioned, like the pens, the drinkware, the t-shirts, stuff
Hmm.
like that makes sense. It seems obvious, but the speakers would be a new one. But I do think it's interesting that, for commercial printers, I think they look at promo, and when we tell them like, oh, you don't have to do, it's like almost seems too easy. Like, what's the
Hmm.
catch? But it is supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be, it frees you up to be able to sell it and not have to do all the decorating and like buy new equipment and figure all that out. Like our suppliers, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I do think that it makes the convergence, it really makes a lot of sense with like the wide format printers who maybe
Hmm.
are doing like the signage or the tents or whatnot for trade shows. Then they can also be the one that's supplying the giveaways at, like the whole one-stop shop thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even things like candy wrappers at the booth. You can
uh,
have that little
yeah,
thing there. But,
yeah,
like, what about you? I know you wrote a whole thing about the apparel trends and some of the bag trends too. So what
yeah.
did you kind of see from that convergence angle of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the really like the apparel, like you can kind of, I guess, like you can uniform, you can like outfit everybody at like a trade show booth. So
Hmm.
that kind of brings the apparel into it. um I think it's just a matter of like taking the technology of print and the print on demand kind of um process, And you can sort of tie that into anything now. Anything can be like an on-demand technology. Everybody wants it like quick, like the
Hmm.
Amazon way. So, on demand is not just for apparel. It can be for kind of any aspect of print and promo. And I think
Yeah,
that's
totally.
part of what we're like, that's part of the shift that's happening. I think Rusty Pepper called it like, we're going from like the analog to
Hmm.
digital manufacturing. And that's happening in every kind of aspect of print, whether it's apparel, whether it's promo, whether it's like the traditional signs and whatnot. So I think some of the convergence is just in the technology that's going to be adopted.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's kind of like to use the digital analog to digital thing, especially with the trend of, one piece minimums. It's kind of
mhm.
like the change from buying albums to going on iTunes and buying a single song for 99 cents.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you can argue that it might have been better the old way, but
With hindsight, yeah, for sure in that instance.
yeah. But I mean, to be fair, people really like being able to just get the songs that they want. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to go where the market takes you. So we obviously we covered a lot of different education sessions and even, taught some of our own. But like, what are
Mhm.
some of the key points that you heard uh, either us or the other professionals making?
Well, one of the ones that really stood out to me was the one that, our mutual friend Cassie Green did about sustainability in, it was focused on apparel, but also packaging and printing and all of that. And really the kind of key takeaway there was that you can get so intimidated by the idea of sustainability and think you have to, save the entire world, do these big sweeping gestures where it really boils down to the kind of think globally, act locally idea of like turn your lights off when you're not using them, change
Mhm.
your light bulbs to be more sustainable, and then you can, down the road start thinking about more sustainable fibers or inks and things like that. Like that comes with time, but the really main sentence they used, the kind of mantra of it was sustainability is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
So really it was those little steps, and that really resonated with me because it connected to every aspect of the show, whether you're in apparel, whether you're in commercial printing, whatever you're doing, it was,
Yeah.
applicable.
Yeah, I think that I've said that a million times too, that sustainability is a
Yeah.
journey. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. And,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
but it is so true because I think that sustainability it can get very complicated and there's different things you can focus on. And sometimes people will be like, oh, cotton is the worst or cotton is the best or
Hmm.
this, you know what I mean? Like there are some conflicts in what is accepted as the most sustainable thing.
Exactly.
Um, but the key is not to kind of get paralyzed by like all of this, and you just got to pick an area to work on, and doing something is better than
Hmm.
doing nothing.
There's that idea
Um,
of, perfect is the enemy of good.
right, exactly, exactly. I think one of the things that I really took away from the sessions, I went to one that was about getting into diversifying into like sign making. People that are
Hmm.
doing maybe like printing on vinyl right now, how can they get into more like dimensional signage? And um, that speaker, I think Wendy Graves is her name, she was talking about how don't just like, and this is sort of similar to the sustainability thing. Don't try to do it all at once. You can
Hmm.
diversify in steps, like, pick some of the kind of low hanging fruit, like, corrugated like yard signs, like those are huge in an election year, or just like when people are graduating from high school, how many times do you see those, yard signs?
Yep.
Um, so that's something that's a really easy kind of add-on. And I think that's an idea that works for kind of any part of like this convergence. If you're going into promo, you don't have to do it all at once. Pick a few suppliers or a few like products you want to add on and do it in steps. It makes it like being able to do it in like kind of like chunks or like these bite-sized
Hmm.
pieces, I think makes it more palatable and easier to manage when you're going into some kind of unknown territory. So I think it was a simple message, but I think that really struck home to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that translates over to a few sessions that I sat in on. One was from Lisa Cross and Nathan Saffron from Alliance Impressions, which is their data department. And it was about how printers can diversify their business among other things, but one of them was about, adding new services and promotional products played into that. And really it wasn't like you wouldn't suddenly go to a supplier and say, give me everything. Give me everything you have. I want to, use every single product. Like, no,
Mm,
try one thing, do a bag. If that
Yeah.
works, great. Do a t-shirt. If that works, great. Add a little bit more and more and more. Don't bite off more than you can chew because you don't have to.
Right. Right. Um, so obviously we've kind of covered like a whole range of things that we saw, things that happened at the show, but overall, like what do you think in your mind was the biggest trend at the expo?
I think I have to say AI just in terms of how much it came up,
Hmm.
positively and negatively. It's definitely every single session, no matter what it was about, whether it was explicitly about using AI or if it was about sustainability, there was some part of it that went into using AI as a tool, and also, the shortcomings of it, that it's not
Hmm.
this magic bullet solution, but that was definitely kind of, if I had to put one topic at the forefront, that was kind of it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. And I think that people were very primed and interested to learn more about it because
Hmm.
the AI specific classes um, that I saw, they were standing room only, most of them.
Yep.
People were really, really, really eager to learn more about that technology. So I think that was definitely the biggest trend. I would say maybe a secondary thing would be the print on demand.
Hmm.
Um, just because, I mean, and it could just be because I'm like very attuned to print on demand. I think about it all the time now. So I saw that everywhere, but I think that was another big one. And also just I think promo. I saw a lot of promo suppliers on the show floor, and we had our ASI booth. So I think that
Hmm.
um people are really excited and interested. And I also had a lot of good conversations with people who were, their minds were kind of like, you know, turned on like, oh, okay, I could do this. This is a great thing I can add to my business without, putting this huge capital investment in. So I think that um, of the trend, I think it was probably AI, print on demand, and then promo. So,
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think as it's kind of related, I think as the print on demand thing grows, and
mhm,
people who maybe did like things like Etsy shops or any online store with apparel, as technology allows for them to you have basically the same footprint, like they might have like a single like heat press in their house or something for
mhm,
t-shirts. I was talking to equipment manufacturers about how there's things for direct to object printing, and
mhm.
direct to film lends itself so well to that because you can just print out these designs and then put them on a variety of things. So
Okay,
now,
that's the fourth trend, direct to film for sure, and that was
yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely. I think last year was the year of direct to film. It was definitely still there, but this year it was definitely, a major part of it. So I think a lot more people are turned on, like you said, to promo. They're a bit more aware of it. They're a bit more aware of how it can help them. And maybe that's because they might just be getting asked for it more now. They might, that idea of a one-stop shop, and, Linda Fox in my panel brought that up of this, like, she was a mostly wide format printer, but someone said, hey, can you get me lanyards? And being a small business owner, she was like, yeah, sure. And then figured it out. And
Figure
now
it
it's
out
part of her
after.
business.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are getting similar asks. Like they're maybe doing yard signage for a school. And then they say, hey, can you do notebooks too? Can you do lanyards? And, any business owner is going to say, yeah. And like you said, figure it out later.
Yeah. And I mean that's the whole thing is most customers they don't want to have to shop around and get like a bunch of different, vendors. If you can be that one-stop shop, if you can make it easy for them, I mean, who doesn't want something easy?
Well, of
So that's
course.
kind
Yeah.
of the job of printers and promo is to make it easy for their customers.
And especially in this age of kitting now, if you have
Mhm.
multiple components, and we know how strict the in-hands date are for these jobs. If you have your box coming from one person and your t-shirt coming from another person and the tumbler coming from another person, that's, for me personally, my chest is getting tight just thinking about that. Like
It's
I want to,
stressful.
exactly, I want to order from one place and know the ETA for all of it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, well, I mean, overall, I think that it was a great experience going to the show this year. I learned a lot, I saw a lot, and I'm
Hmm.
sure everybody else that went, did the same. I think, um, if you didn't go this year, you should make plans and go to the show next year, especially
Yeah, I'm
because we
really,
will have the ASI pavilion, the show within a show.
hmm
So there's even more for our promo audience to engage with next year.
yeah, I'm really excited about that. I mean, obviously we've had a presence there, but I'm really excited for ASI to really show off what the strategic partnership looks like and, get even more people involved in the promo side, even if they're just like wandering around aimlessly and wander into the booth. We're happy to have conversations with them.
Sometimes, I mean, I know it's important to go to a show with a plan, but sometimes wandering out aimlessly actually can be more productive because you just don't know what you're gonna stumble across. So
Yeah,
I am a big
you kind of take the
advocate for
blinders off
aimless
and
wandering.
you're more
Yeah.
attuned to what's around and you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
allow yourself to be like, oh, what's that? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because that I think that curiosity is such a big part of learning and of growing. So,
Hmm.
take bring that to the show with you.
Hmm. Now, to end, did you have any booth or anything that really stood out to you just for like, a fun experience there?
Um, so there was a booth that was all like a retro 80s arcade.
Yeah.
I loved that one. That just made me happy. And I talked to one of the people there, and he said that they were thinking about having like actual arcade games to draw people in. And he's like, then nobody would leave. So he's like, we just did the cardboard version because we didn't actually want people to just be playing video
Play
games all
Pac-Man
day.
all day.
Yeah, but I really did. I also really thought there was, I think it's called Massivit, the 3D printing company, these giant, like they had like a gigantic like crock that was 3D printed and like
Hmm.
huge perfume bottles.
Yep, I
And
saw that.
they were like really, really cool. And you could see how like combining them with like a 2D display, but with something that kind of popped out or was actually like,
Hmm.
3D and tactile could really kind of take a pop-up shop or a brand activation or something to the next level. It was really neat. So that I was pretty impressed with. I mean, there was just so many like things to look at and see that
Hmm.
it's hard to just pick one thing.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
a
you? What
lot.
was like your favorite thing?
In terms of displays, there was a lot of like backlit things this year, but the one that really stands out, to your idea of engagement and getting people interested in being in the
Mhm.
booth, there was one, it was an equipment manufacturer actually that had a little tabletop of 3D printed machinery and a remote control forklift that they would time you to see how long it took you to load three of them onto the truck.
Yeah,
And I got to play with that for a minute, so that was really fun.
that is fun. I love that. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up, but
Hmm.
again, it was a great show. We learned so much. For ASI, I'm Teresa, and thanks for watching and listening.